Are you shopping for a wheelchair either for yourself or for a loved one, but you're not sure where to start? In this video, we'll go over the best options and things to consider when choosing the right wheelchair. My name is Kirk. I work as an assistive technology professional with Med Mart, and I've also worked as a physical therapist for over a decade. There are many different classifications of wheelchairs. Some of them are very complex and highly modifiable. Others, like this standard manual wheelchair, can still be modified to fit you appropriately and do come in different sizes and may be more suitable for somebody that is just getting into needing a wheelchair. The first thing that you want to start to look at when it comes to deciding what type of standard manual chair you want to get is the size. There are two different ways that the size can be modified on a standard manual wheelchair. The first and most important being the hip width. So I get this question asked a lot. Do I want to measure my hips when standing or sitting? And the answer is that you want to measure your hips when you're in a seated position to figure out what size wheelchair you need, simply because your hip width might be different when you're standing versus sitting. This can be done with a regular tape measure. You don't have to have this dandy tool. But you look at this wheelchair, and this is a 20-inch wide manual wheelchair. So in order to find out what size you need, you would take a seat and you would find the widest part of your hips, take a tape measure, and measure from point A to point B. These sizes come typically in 16, 18, and 20 inches wide. The next most important wheelchair measurement that you want to consider is the seat depth. That is how deep it goes from the wheelchair back until the end of the wheelchair upholstery. The way that you would find that is have the patient sit down in the chair, and you're going to measure all the way from their back to the back of their knee. You're going to take that measurement and then subtract 2 inches. The reason that you want to subtract 2 inches is that if somebody is using their feet to propel themselves forward in the chair, you want to give your leg room to move backwards. It is also important to consider seat height when it comes to purchasing and modifying a standard manual wheelchair. The reason being is because if somebody does want to have their feet on the ground to help propel themselves forward, they can't have the wheelchair too high where their feet are dangling. Likewise, if the patient is transferring and has a hard time going from a seated to a standing position, if the wheelchair is too low, they're going to have a more difficult time standing up to get out of the wheelchair. There's a couple different ways that you can modify the seat height. First, you can actually purchase a cushion that will bring the seat height up a little bit higher, and the cushions can come in different sizes. I highly recommend a seat cushion for the manual wheelchair because if you're spending multiple hours in a day, the wheelchair cushion is going to be more supportive than the basic seat upholstery. You can also modify the front casters of the wheelchair by bringing them up onto the fork of the caster. Another modification that can be made to a standard manual wheelchair is the footrest height. Let's say that you have your footrest in the standard position that it comes in, but you're noticing that your knee is way off of the cushion. In order to change that to bring your thigh down to parallel to the ground, you would simply lower the footrest. The arm height can also be adjusted in some manual chairs. This is basically done just for the patient's comfort level. You would want to make sure that they are sitting upright with their shoulders relaxed, elbows at 90 degrees, pull out the pin, lift it up, and then let it go back into place. So you may have heard the phrase full-length armrest and desk-length armrest. The main difference is the fact that this armrest is longer and gives a little bit more support. The desk length is important because let's say that somebody wants to get up close to a desk, close to a countertop, or close to a table. They are able to get much closer to those surfaces. However, with the full length, if you have somebody that you know is having a really hard time transferring, getting up out of the chair, they're able to push off the chair from a forward position in order to get up. Here I have Jeff with me. He's going to help me visualize how to appropriately measure for a standard manual wheelchair. Jeff is 5'10" and weighs about 210 pounds. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure Jeff's hip width. Coming in at about 17 inches, finding the widest point of his hips tells me that he should be in an 18-inch wide chair. The reason why you don't want to go too wide is because then it makes it a little bit more challenging to fit through doorways, as well as widening your arms and making it difficult to self-propel. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure that Jeff is sitting up nice and straight with his buttock all the way up against the back of the chair. And I'm going to find the back of that chair and then measure down to behind the knee. That measures right in at 20 inches. When I subtract the 2 inches from that 20, that gives me 18 inches. And so an 18-inch seat depth is appropriate for Jeff. Finally, to make sure that I get the appropriate seat height, I'm gonna measure from his heel to the back of his knee. That comes in at 19 inches. This chair seems to fit him appropriately because his foot is flat on the ground, his ankle is at 90 degrees, his knee is at 90 degrees, and his hips are at 90 degrees. The standard manual wheelchair, such as this one, is designed to fit almost everybody. If you're not going to be spending 10 to 12 hours a day in a chair, just need it to get around a little bit, this is probably going to be more appropriate for you. Everybody has a different size and shape, and not every chair is going to fit everybody perfectly. If you're off an inch or so with some of these measurements in a manual standard wheelchair, that's okay. If you have any questions, our product navigators are standing by to help. Give us a call or browse online here at medmart.com.